here this morning. I want to start by thanking NERA. I want to thank Generation Progress for inviting me here. So let me get this straight. Here I am with a room full of students talking about something I feel passionately about. All I need is a piece of chalk in my hand and I'm ready to go. So this feels good. I'm right at home, right at home. So the theme of today's event is make progress. This feels right to me, and it feels right because if we want real progress in this country, we have to make it. It's the verb here that matters. We can't sit around waiting for it. We can't just wish for it. We have to make it happen, and that's what we're here for. I truly believe that students like you are the key to making real progress. Students who believe that women should get equal pay for equal work. Can we hear for that? Students who believe that we should not restrict access to basic health care for anyone. Do we believe in that? Students who are willing to get out and fight for a consumer agency. Do we believe in that one? You bet. And students who believe that when it comes to LGBT Americans, equal means equal. Do we believe in that? I also believe that students like you are the key to making progress on one of the most important issues facing us today, which is the exploding cost of college. Let's face some really hard facts here. Recent college graduates are drowning in debt. It's keeping them from buying homes. It's keeping them from saving for retirement. The rate of young Americans getting their first mortgages dropped by 50% from 1999 to 2009. A recent report from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau showed that nearly 6 million young people between the ages of 25 and 34 lived with their parents in 2011, a 30% increase in 4 years. College graduates are getting squeezed from all sides. And here's the deal. All across America, everyone, parents, teachers, even the federal government, is telling young people to get a college education, telling them to take on the debt to do it, promising that it will pay off in the long run. Meanwhile, the tuition keeps skyrocketing, interest rates keep rising, and students keep borrowing more and more. In effect, this country is saying you need an education, but good luck in paying for it. The government has to start doing its part to make good on the college investment. We know what we need to do. We need to lower the costs of college. How do we do that? We do it by driving down the costs of tuition and by increasing investments in financial aid. It's that straightforward. We need to lower the costs for those who've already graduated. It's time to help former students deal with $1 trillion in existing student loan debt by helping them refinance their loans at fair and reasonable rates. We need to do this. You know, every time the government makes a loan at a low cost, it's making an investment in the borrower. And right now, the government lends money to giant banks at less than 1% interest. But at the same time, it lends money to students at a much higher rate. In fact, because of Congress's failure to act on July 1st, the interest rate on student loans doubled for new student loans from 3.4% to 6.8%. It is wrong to make a bigger investment in our banks than in our students. That's just wrong. Now, I introduced a bill to fix this inequality. The bill's called Bank on Students. Maybe some of you have heard of it. The idea is a simple one. For 1 year, we should let students borrow at the same rate we give to big banks who are borrowing from the Federal Reserve. Give our students that much support. We invest in our big banks because we think it's important to our economy. Well, I think it's important to our economy to invest in our students. That's what we should be doing. We're going to make these investments. Let's bank on students. That's how I see it. Now, here's what's interesting about this conversation, though. There are people in Congress who say, oh, yeah, well, good idea, but it's just too expensive. We can't afford to make this kind of investment in our students. I think that's just completely wrong. The whole idea behind lending to big banks is so that they will grow the economy. And nobody says we should end those programs because they're expensive. Well, the same is true for our students. We need to invest in our students so they can help grow the economy. Look, going to college is good for you. It increases your lifetime earnings. It increases the odds you will have a financially secure life. But when you get an education, it's also good for the rest of us. Your education strengthens our economy. It strengthens our workforce. It increases consumer spending, and it maintains our status as the world's leading innovator. We build a future by investing in education. That's what we need to do. But instead of helping our students, the government is making a profit on student loans. We can hear some booing at this point. Yeah, good. Because I want you to hear these stats. You've got to warm up on the booing here. According to official government statistics, the government will make $51 billion in profits on student loans this year alone. I want to say that again. There we go. $51 billion in profits on student loans this year alone. And I just want to be sure everyone understands that is true profit. That's after the costs of bad debts, that's after the administrative costs, that's after the costs of borrowing the funds. $51 billion in profits. That is wrong. It is more than wrong. That is obscene. The government should not be making profits off the backs of our students, period. You know, the tax code is littered with tax loopholes that benefit the very wealthy. There are tax loopholes so that big corporations can pay zero in taxes. Other loopholes allow giant oil companies, for example, some of the most profitable corporations in the world, to bring in billions of dollars in tax subsidies. Instead of all these loopholes, we should be working to create a level playing field. Republicans want to protect these giveaways, and they want to pay for them by having our students pay higher interest rates. They ask our students to get buried in more and more debt. So when Republicans say they won't lower the interest rate on student loans, what they're really saying is their long-term financial plan is to keep making profits off the backs of students so that corporations can protect their loopholes. When they say as a country, we can't afford to help our students, they're really saying our students should create profits while the government lets the wealthiest individuals and the biggest corporations get special tax breaks. This is just plain wrong. This is not how we build a future. Now, right now, Congress is working hard to reverse the doubling of interest rates that occurred on July 1st. I don't like the fact that the interest rates doubled. But when you blame Congress for this happening, I just want to be clear about this. A majority of senators voted to extend the current rate at 3.4%. They did that twice, despite the fact that every single Republican voted against plans to keep the interest rate at 3.4%. These plans got a majority in the United States Senate. They should have passed, but they didn't, because they were blocked by a Republican filibuster. The Republicans should end their filibuster on student loans. They should stop using our students as a profit center for the government. They should stop blocking our efforts to keep student loan interest rates low. Now, some senators have put forward other proposals for dealing with the interest rate problem, and I hope you're all paying very close attention to these proposals. These plans sell students on lower rates for the first few years. But those plans also have interest rates that will more than double in the long term. Those plans actually leave students paying more than they would if Congress did nothing at all. You know what this is like? This is like the deal that was offered for the last few years on those teaser rate mortgages where you paid a little bit at the beginning and then the fine print hits you later on. It's like those zero interest rate credit cards where you pay nothing right at the beginning and then get hit later on. Well, now there are people in the United States Senate who are trying to sell students on exactly that same idea. The interest rates will go down for a little while, and don't read the fine print about what happens in the out years. This is a bad deal for students. It ultimately will cost students more, or let me say it the other way, ultimately will make more profits for the United States government. Many student groups have said a bad deal is worse than no deal at all, and I agree with them. So I know this is a deeply frustrating situation to millions of students who are asked to pay more on their loans just so that the government can make a profit, just so that we can preserve loopholes for big corporations. And I know that the problems we've got here in trying to keep student interest rates low demonstrates the challenges we're going to face as we try to push real reforms on the costs of college through Congress, as we try to get lower tuition costs overall, as we try to refinance $1 trillion in outstanding debt. Look, let's face it, what we want to do is big. It is ambitious, but we need to be ambitious. We need to start bringing college costs under control for all of our students. We need to refinance $1 trillion in student loan debt. We in this room need to be ambitious because this is how we build a future. Come on, this is what we do. Doing the right thing on student loans, bringing down costs, is an agenda that is worth fighting for. And that's what we're here for, is to fight. I don't kid myself, it won't be easy. Unlike the big banks, students don't have an army of lobbyists and an army of lawyers to press Congress. The people who argue that government is broken and government never works don't want to see government work for students. But we can change that. We have the advantage. Why do we have the advantage? We have the advantage because we have us. We have our voices. We have our energy. We have our willingness to get out there and fight. Come on, are we going to get out there and fight on this? Let's hear it again. That's what I like to hear. Good, good. Because this is what it takes. If we want to make progress, we have to get out there and fight for it. I'm ready to fight for this. Are you ready to fight for this? Good. That's what we'll do. Thank you. It's good to be here. Fight for this.